And welcome back to Washington Commanders Insider. Today, we're going to be looking at the Washington Commanders injury concerns going into this next game. And let's start with the news that we hear around Austin Cyber that he has been placed on the IR. Remember, he had missed 2 games going into this Sunday game, and I guess it is a hip injury. And so I guess it's uncertain, according to this report, if it was the hip or if there's a new injury, but he did miss the kick that perhaps could have tied up the football game, maybe taken the game into overtime. But I think that with Austin Cyber being down now, they talk about Zane Gonzalez, who had replaced Austin Cyber, and now he is on the practice squad. He can be elevated to the active roster without being signed. And so in the meantime, the Washington Commanders have gone ahead and they have signed Chris Rodriguez Jr. to the active roster. Remember, he was on the practice roster. He's played, I guess, so many games this year, and he can't go back down to the practice roster. So he had to be on the active roster. And this comes on the heels with the injury concerns that the Washington Commanders have in the backfield, because right now, Austin Eckler looks like he's down with a concussion. And then Brian Robinson Jr., he went down with a sprained right ankle. He was not able to come back to the game. And so just going back to Austin Cyber and what that means. And so, look, it clearly, it probably has something to do with the hip. Maybe he's saying that, here's Austin Cyber saying, I was fine to kick, having worked in practice during the week, but I just wasn't striking it well. So talking about just getting the power on the football. And so it sounds like it's something to do with the hip injury. And with Zane Gonzalez, look, he came in, he did a great job for us. He was 3 of 3 on field goals. And so I think it's a good thing that the Washington Commanders kept him on the practice squad. And so now when you sign Chris Rodriguez Jr., which I think is the right move, you got to figure out now what are you going to do for Zane Gonzalez long term, because you might have to essentially have him as your kicker. And so I don't think that this is going to be a bad thing for the Washington Commanders if Zane Gonzalez has to finish out the year. He definitely can do it. It's just going to be a matter of who then goes on the IR or who are you going to release. And so with that being said, with Chris Rodriguez Jr., I think that this was the right move for the Washington Commanders, especially with the situation with Brian Robinson Jr. Look, he has the sprained right ankle on that right leg. It's the same leg with the knee and then the hamstring. And so, look, Brian Robinson Jr. has just he's not the same since he's gotten these injuries. It's definitely kind of slowed him down. And then you see in the second half of that game, he didn't even get a chance to get back out there. And so that lets you know that the injury it maybe got worse with that right ankle and he wasn't able to go. Either way, I think that you need to add Chris Rodriguez Jr. because with him, I think you get that dimension of just a power in the backfield. And I feel like with the Washington Commanders, that's something that really unlocks this offense. And I know that we're going to talk about this a little bit more with this offense and its struggles, but I think that it starts with the power running. And I think that Chris Rodriguez Jr. is a player that has shown that he can bring that power to the backfield, and they need that. I think that this offense, it operates best when they don't have to go very far for the down marker, meaning that, Chris Rodriguez Jr., Jeremy McNichols, even Jaden Daniels, they're getting 5+ yards a carry and gashing a defense. It's much easier to get to that third down marker when you're looking at, a 3rd and 3, a 3rd and 4 situation, then a 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, whatever that situation may look like. You want that down marker to be as close as possible. And so hopefully the Washington Commanders can now take Chris Rodriguez Jr. and they can hopefully get back on track, because it's uncertain what is going to happen to Brian Robinson Jr. Hopefully he's able to get back to really the way he started this season, but I think that he is just slowing down since those injuries. And so, with that being said, that leads me to the second part of the video, and that is just about this offense and just the talk around this offense and just how it has become predictable. I got a chance to look at something, I think it was on NFL Network, and they were talking about the Washington Commanders and talking about just how predictable this offense has been, and talking about Cliff Kingsbury and his struggles with the Arizona Cardinals, and just how really they start off well, and then they just have struggles in the second half of the year, maybe because defenses are starting to figure it out. I think they were talking about the plays being ran pretty much the same plays. It's just like a slight variation in the formation, and so it's just something that maybe you can figure out. I'm not sure. I'm not on those defenses, but I know that I'm starting to hear that noise a little bit more with the Washington Commanders. And I think Jaden Daniels is past this I guess this point where it's like, oh, he's just a rookie quarterback, because with what he was able to do, in this game particularly, and being able to put it together and get this Washington Commanders down for a great, pretty much a tying drive, like that Jaden Daniels is a player that can figure it out, and I don't think that you need to now pretty much be in a situation where the offense has to be simplistic. Like, I think that this guy, he's showing you that he can make all the reads out there, and I think he's only going to get better. And I love how he really adapts out there, because going into the fourth quarter, I think, or something like that, at one point he was that offense was 0 of 7, but when they needed to have it, Jaden Daniels found a way to get it. And so, I think now what you have to say to yourself is that, look, we can open up the playbook even more. And so I think that means that Cliff Kingsbury is going to have to get a little bit more creative, maybe in the placement of Terry McLaurin. I think that was one of the things that was talked about with him, is that he was split out to the left. And I do remember there were a couple times where, yes, he is catching the football and he literally is just split out to the left, and he's running pretty much kind of the same kind of post routes and things like that. And so, look, we have got to do a better job as far as getting out there and then throwing some wrinkles out there in the offense. I'd love to see some more double moves and just some attempts down the field with that. I think that's something where we could utilize Jaden Daniels a lot on the run, especially because he had it going with the running game and stuff like that. So perhaps if we're throwing some double moves and things out there, I think that there's a real possibility that Jaden Daniels is able to hit on those with Terry McLaurin. Then also, too, just utilizing some of the other players that we have, like Noah Brown, Zach Ertz. I know that these players had some just inexcusable drops, because there were some drops where it literally would hit them in the face and it just became an incomplete pass. And so that's tough, but you got to catch the football. And so I think just utilizing them too as well, kind of putting them into some situations to make some more big plays. I think that would kind of open us up a little bit more. With the running game, I don't think that there's too much that you need to throw in there from a wrinkle standpoint. Like, I think that the running game, it is what it is. I like the fact that it's smash mouth. It does look like Jaden Daniels is, I guess his health is good, because he did run the football some more. And so I don't know if the health was an issue in these last couple of games. I mean, they put him out there. And so, but we see that he's a little bit more dynamic now, wanting to run the football. I saw that on Sunday. And so hopefully that continues to open up the running game with that dimension. But yeah, I just think from a passing standpoint, kind of shifting players around the field, like, we got to figure something out, because, that does seem like that is the talk right now around the Washington Commanders, is that they continue to be figured out with just the type of plays that they're running. And so hopefully that's not the case. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are with the Washington Commanders. Do you feel like, yes, the offense has hit a wall, it is time for them to make some massive adjustments? Or do you just feel like, look, this team is just going through a tough time, they're going to come out of it against the Tennessee Titans in this next game? So love to hear what you have to say. I'll be talking about the Washington Commanders and this Tennessee Titans game coming up and some of the stats for that one. This is Rico. This is Washington Commanders Insider. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.